there's few ways people come back. The way I came back was, I was having this moment where someone wrote me a very, very, very bad email.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it's called, by the way, if many of you don't know, it's a lot of people have called, you must have heard of sleep apnea, but there's also something called email apnea. So I just want to, what happens when you see a bad email, like, these are the lions and tigers chasing us in our society.
Yeah.
So we being chasing, no real lion. It's like emails and all these bad messaging and what's going on, your boss and, your partners or, your co-founders. So I got this email and then I realized I, I was having a hard time breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I was holding my breath because, when you get surprised, like this.
Yeah.
So I kept holding my breath. And what was happening is I was holding my breath unconsciously.
Yeah.
And so what was happening is it was making me more and more anxious. And it made me realize, afterwards, because I didn't feel good the whole night. I was like, I started finding meaning. What is the meaning of my life? I mean, I can be like, so easily I can be brought down by one email.
Yeah.
Yeah. Started the whole thing in terms of like, really some changes needs to be made. I mean,
yeah,
this is not who I am. Like, I was really, my body systems, everything was shattered by one email. Like, and that really was an eye-opener, like, how these small things, and now that's one email. Now let's talk about getting those emails 5 times a week.
Yeah, 10 times a day, if you have multiple companies. I really appreciate you sharing that, Parveen, because it's so relatable. And I feel like something that people don't often either talk about, because it might seem shameful, embarrassing, like, you have this beautiful or ungrateful, beautiful life, beautiful family, living in wherever you are, you're in California, but for someone else. And it's just, and the fact that we can let something shift our energy and our field, and our mental wellness, our sympathetic, from a parasympathetic to a sympathetic system so quickly. I think this happens to people every single day. So whether it's an email or someone cut you off in driving, or someone cut you off in the line for coffee, or just whatever it is, I think that we're all so susceptible to those things. Um, and I think that that's like, each time that happens, as you say, you have this realization. It's such a great reset in that moment. It's just sort of like, wait 1 second. I was in this state, and now in this state. One of my business partners and co-founders, exactly the same. I mean, it could be, we could have just had, an amazing investment meeting, and then an email comes in, and then it's just shift. And when you talk about how you held your breath, if you could talk about that a little bit more, and how that, helped you put a focus towards breath work. It's so powerful, the ability to breathe. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I can share. So you mentioned about holding the breath. I think in life, when we do things consciously, we are in control.
Yes.
So I just give you an example. These days, a lot of people are doing ice baths. I mean, I knew ice bath, 20 years ago in Himalaya, Indian yogis, they sit in the eye. And trust me, they're very happy. And they don't do ice bath for 10 minutes. They actually... Right?
Yes, good point.
So when we look at, even like a small example, if someone forced you down an ice bath, you will panic, because obviously you're doing it unconsciously and something that you're not willingly doing it. Whereas if you learn to go slowly in the ice bath, you will be much better able to control your environment and control your emotion and your response to it. The same thing, when we consciously hold breath, the amazing benefit of it, intermittent hypoxia, I call it. you increase your red blood cells, and your innate immune system improves. There's a lot of great benefits in learning how to. But once again, example, when you are unconsciously holding your breath, then there are certain things happen in your body which basically are not good for you, because you're pretty much like, when we are in a state of panic, what happens? When someone panics, either they're hyperventilating a lot, or they're holding the breath and they can't breathe.
Yeah.
So basically, the idea is, in a harmonic state, the best way of breathing is in three things you have to remember is the breathing needs to be slow. So when you hear someone breathing, when you ask someone to take a deep breath and when they do this, well, this is not a deep breath. I hate to break it, but this is not a deep breath. A deep breath is effortless. A deep breath is slow. And a deep breath is through your diaphragm. That means deep. So this is the definition of deep breath. So what happens is when we slowly, as we grow and we have all these emails coming through, we have a lifestyle where we are scared, oh my God, what's going to happen with this business? And we're always in a state of fear. So we start holding the breath, and the breath moves from the stomach to the chest. That's how, and what happens is there's a feedback loop going on. The more you breathe this way, the more you have those thoughts. The more those have thoughts, the breathing becomes worse, and the chain reaction starts and doesn't stop. So one of the things what I do is, and I'm still human, so I still have those emails, and sometimes I still have those states of panic. But what I've learned is I'm never going to be able to take the stress away. I'm never going to be able to completely remove the panic. I think stress is part of human life, and that will always. But what I can learn is I can learn the techniques, and I can learn how to respond to the stress rather than react. And I think this was a big learner, because a lot of places you go, people are like, oh, I'll get rid of the stress, and then you won't have any stress. I think that's because we're telling people wrong things. Whereas the thing is, stress is part of your life. There's two types of stress. Positive stress is great for your longevity, everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would never be able to get rid of it. And then the idea is you have the power and you have the tools how to manage it the best. And that's what I focused on learning, and breathing was one of the biggest power. So once again, one of the biggest thing I focus on is to breathe slowly. And I'll just give you a small example. Like, you can just breathe through the back, just simply,
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it right now. Let's teach them, because I really feel is one of the most powerful, underutilized tools that we have. And personally, I've been, as you know, I've been traveling for about 4.5 months, from hotel to hotel to planes, sort of living out of a suitcase, and a lot of environments where there can be those external stresses, and breath and breathing is something that I personally have been utilizing a lot more, especially in the recent weeks. And of course, talking to you so much, and the Ziva platform has also encouraged me to do so. So I would love if right now you could just sort of like walk us through how you breathe when you are in those moments.
So once again, there are various combinations. So what we're going to talk about is the basic, because people need to start from the basic to get somewhere in terms of how to use it from, right? So the first thing is always breathe through the nose. I mean, there are some breathing you can, for example, like, you had probably heard Wim Hof breathing and stuff, but normally always breathe through your nose. I mean, there are tremendous benefit. I always tell people, please don't mind, but shut your mouth.
Yes.
And very polite about it, because that's the best thing they can do. So breathe through the nose. Second thing is you always breathe through your diaphragm. So you can put your hand on your belly and slowly breathe through the diaphragm. Now, the third thing is you always have to breathe slow. So for example, we're going to do a very small breath up to 4 seconds, for example, up, and then very slow and effortless. So let's take it through. So let's start. So if you need a 4 second and you hold it, the breath right now for just another few seconds, and then you release the breath either through your nose or your mouth very slowly. Now that breathing is effortless.
Yeah.
That's what a breathing is. If you see a child that is born, a child will show you the right way of breathing because this is the natural way of breathing. But as we grow, the different emotions, different lifestyle, different food habits, it takes and the breathing becomes shallow and it becomes from here. So the first step is always you basically breathe through the belly and you go slowly without making noise and you slowly come down. Either you can use your mouth or your nose to release the breath. And that's how a normal breathing should be like. Now, if you practice this breath, for example, for 6 times up and 6 times down, which is the total suggested breath normally should be 6 breaths per minute. Now, there's lots of studies done on that in terms of HRV, in terms of diabetes and chronic disease. And they found out the slow breathing can really help in many ways. So this is the first basic step. Just slow down your breathing, go deep, and you're not going to learn in one day. The idea is consciously interfere. So while you're sitting down, just say, how am I breathing? And then again. So you are consciously programming slowly, slowly, day by day, your body and your mind and your subconscious mind to learn how you need to breathe. And when you see yourself going sideways, you just have to intervene and again do that. And that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
It's all about, you can't stop thought. Meditation, some people want to grab a hammer and like hammer all the thoughts.
You can't
It's
do
not.
that.
I learned long time ago, a lot of excuses that I used to use was, and many people, I can't meditate because I can't focus. That's a typical. Right?
Oh, I hear it all the time as I teach people. I agree. It's so, thank you so much, Parveen. It really is so powerful. And I know that there, some people, it sounds so simple. I mean, I do what I call the 444, which is what I lead when I lead people into meditation or into Reiki or into, anything with breath. Someone asked, do I hold the breath for a count of 6 as well? You can, I do 4, but it's just really focusing on you, focusing on your breath, being very intentional, and you can count it out. So count of 4 helps, count of 6 helps. I think you can actually, over time, you develop, you strengthen your lungs and you can, hold for longer. And breathe in deeper with practice. But that's a great start, to the person that asked. Can't tell what the name is, but yeah.